Pizza Jaffa's orange rose. Microchips is us. iPhone cameras us. Taco salads us. Toda Lavabos us. Olive Garden us. White Foster us. Sabra Hamas. Hasbara sus.
Welcome to Bad Hasbara, the world's most moral podcast. My name is Matt Lieb. I will be your host for this podcast, and I am so glad that you are joining us today. Before we get started, I want to let people know we now have a subreddit. That's right. You know Reddit? That thing on the internet where it's like message boards or something? Yeah, well, we have a sub one of those. Go to r/Bad Hasbara, and you will be able to, post stuff like post some of your favorite, bits of propaganda that you've seen, or, post questions, or post, episode requests or episode suggestions. Basically, post to your heart is content. Also, and I want to thank our moderator, JP Ben, who is the mod of that, as well as being the guy who is running the at Most Moral Pod Bad Hasbara Twitter account. So follow us on Twitter at Most Moral Pod. And thank you, JP Ben. I also want to thank someone who's helping me a bit out with some producing, and that is Adam Levine. Or Levine, or Adam Levin. I did not ask him his pronunciation. I assume he probably, not doing Adam Levine because there's already the Maroon 5 guy. So maybe it's Adam Levin. Levin feels better to say. Thank you for, for helping me out with some of the production and editing down some of the clips. So shout out to him. And finally, patreon.com/frotcast. If you go to that and sign up, not only do you get these episodes, but you also get other episodes of me talking about The Wire and the Sopranos. I know those are probably not also your interests if you're listening to this podcast, but it's a fun show. You'll like it. It's Pod Yourself a Gun and the Frotcast. Those are my original podcasts. And when you sign up for the $5 tier or more, you also get access to the Discord. So Discord is like Reddit, but it's a different thing. Anyways, so yeah, who doesn't want to be part of a Discord chat? If you know what Discord is, it's fun or something. I don't know. I think people like share classified documents in it. I'm not sure what it's for, but I go on it sometimes and I just watch people talk and I go like, cool, they're talking about stuff. So do that. Anyways, let's get this show started. This is me I tacked this on to the beginning of this episode because I forgot to do it once again. And I was like, I got to tell people about the Reddit and I got to tell people about Adam and JP Ben. These guys are helping me out. So thank you so much for your help, and enjoy this episode of Bad Hasbara. Thank you so much for being here with all of us to, watch this podcast about Israeli propaganda.
Or listen.
Speaking of which, listening, so good. And let me tell you why. When you listen, there's like ads that happen in the middle of it, it doesn't make much money, but it makes some money. And for me, listen,
you'll take some money.
I'll always take some money over no money.
Absolutely.
And with YouTube,
that's why you're good with money.
That's what exactly. That's why.
Because if someone offered you like no money or money, you'll always take money. I've always said that about you.
I always take the money. Yeah. If someone's just like, I'll give you no money for you to do this. Or I'll give you some money for you to.
Is this a Jewish trope, by the way?
This is not a Jewish trope. This is actually just anyone, I think, of any religion or ethnicity or nationality knows that you always take a little bit of money.
True.
Over no money. And so the thing with YouTube, listen, I love that you're here. I love that you're looking at me. I love that I have to now think about what I look like. I love that now my shirt is fair game for people to talk shit on in the comments.
They're talking shit about your shirt?
Someone did. Fine. That's great. But the thing is, money can't make any on YouTube because everything gets demonetized for whatever reason. And so I just put my seat down a little. So yeah, if you're going to be watching the podcast, which is fine with me, make sure that you check out that super comment button. You see, there's a button on there that I learned about where you can say something like, hey, your shirt sucks, but you can give me $5. And for me, I will always take $5 in exchange for saying how much my shirt sucks. Always. Anyways, so do that. Or listen, 5 stars in a review. Please write reviews. Do it. Go to the Apple Podcast app store and be like, I love this podcast. Bad Hasbara, so good. 5 stars. Or go to Spotify and do it. That'd be sick. All right. Let's get down to business. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, we have a fantastic guest today. Our guest today, my God, she's smart. She's sexy. She's beautiful.
Oh.
She is the mother of my child. And she has a wonderful podcast called The Bitchuation Room, which you probably already listened to.
But if you don't, what are you doing?
But if you don't, what are you doing? It's a really great podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, our guest today is Francesca Fiorentini.
Hey.
She's right next to me. How you doing?
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there.
Yeah,
I'm
what's
good.
up?
I'm good. Hey, babe.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay, sick. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate
no problem.
it. Listen, it's been hard to book, Francesca.
It's been really hard. Yeah.
Listen, I've been, hitting up her people.
Yes.
My people have been talking to her people.
Yes.
And I've been getting the runaround, to be honest.
Sorry about that. I just,
You're busy. You're booked.
It's hard.
The life of a booked person.
Yeah, and a mom,
Yeah, she's also a mother.
the default parent.
Yeah, but I do stuff too.
Who are you?
I'm Matt.
Which I've been teaching the baby to say, Matt.
Yeah, you've also
Matt.
you've also taught the baby to every time I'm in her presence and I look on my phone.
I didn't teach her this.
Yes, she learned by example. Every time I look on my phone and nod at the baby while I'm in her presence, she goes, "Hi, hi, hi," and that is something you literally do.
That's something I would do.
I love that.
I feel like babies outdone me on some trying to shame you for being on your phone all the time. This morning I was trying to teach the baby
How to jack off.
no, how to do I don't care.
Oh.
So she moves her hands, and so I was trying to do the jack off and then open hand fist. I don't care.
You were doing that.
I was doing this. I don't care.
Yeah.
She didn't really get it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we're still
I don't
working
care.
on the sign language with the baby. We're gonna figure it out. She's doing more.
I don't care.
Yeah, she's doing go fuck yourself.
She's doing love. I love
She's doing
you.
love. It's so cute. I love babies.
Let's talk about dead ones.
Yeah, which is why we started this podcast. By we, I mean me, but with the support of my lovely wife here. Francesca.
You're getting more famous than me.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" I love what Matt's doing.
No, but that's only because literally all those people that you know are people that you already like.
I want genocide to stop for many reasons. Number one, genocide bad.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And number two,
what's the second reason?
Stop giving Matt way too much influence and power and
It's going to my head.
All the views, all the clicks, all the retweets.
I'm getting clicks. I'm getting retweets.
He's very excited.
I tell you, my Twitter's off the hook. To quote Succession, my Twitter is off the hook.
That's not what they said. Forgot about that.
Yeah, that was what Kendall said.
Oy, oy, oy.
But yeah, no, you're right. Honestly, I think the greatest gift to the world would be a free Palestine, because it would also free up my palace time to do other projects. I'm sorry about the pun. But yeah,
no, you're right where you need to be, and you are someone who is effortlessly, it feels, been able to tap into the humor of all of this. Something that I honestly don't think anyone else has been able to do in the way that you have. Maybe Sammy Obeid has been.
Well, yeah, no,
similar
tons of Palestinian comics and content creators, and in America and in England, I've seen just really hilarious people doing it. I think the difference is that
Americans are very scared.
Americans are very scared, and also those Palestinian comics are not trying to like critique. Like, I'm critiquing liberal Zionists in America and Zionism from the perspective of someone who's like, I'm watching. I know you guys, all my American Jewish friends and colleagues and relations and whatnot. I know that you have at one point said things like Black Lives Matter or genocide bad. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching people, turn their back on that and then using some bullshit faux social justice excuse in order to like allow this to take place. So I feel like that's the big difference. But I also encourage people to check out Sammy Obeid, even though he needs no shout out because he's fucking huge.
Yeah.
He's getting big, which is like making me very happy.
Yeah,
because we both at one point had the same manager who dropped both of us because we were anti-Zionists.
Take that. For real?
I mean, I'm not going to say that's why, but I will say that I did get a big talking to at one point.
That's right, because they called their offices. Some random person called their offices.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. Or emailed him about some like weird, it was just some weird email thing. And I remember being like, am I being yelled at in this email? Is this an opportunity? Like, what is this? And I was also like, why are you bringing this to me?
Is this a gig?
Like, if this looks insane to you, then leave it. Like, why would you even bring it? Just ignore it.
A random,
It was his way of getting into a conversation.
That's such a fucking coward move.
Yeah, about it. And it was cordial. He didn't
random troll reached out to me about something you said.
Right.
Now I want to use this random troll as a jumping off point.
And it was back when I was working at AJ Plus, which is where you and I.
That's right. So that's where I Me Too'd you.
Yeah, you Me Too'd me there. She
never forget.
Never forget. That's what that saying's about. It's about me too.
Wait, is it about 9/11 or is it about the Holocaust first and foremost?
I think first Holocaust. Then eventually Never 11.
Never 11.
Never 11. Never 11.
For sure, when I was in Argentina, Nunca Más was always...
Never Again is Holocaust. Never Forget is 9/11.
Yes, that's what I thought. Yeah. Never Forget.
Yeah. Never Nude is Tobias Funke, Arrested Development. Great show. What were you going to say about Argentina?
Nothing. That just like Nunca Más was always the slogan of the military dictatorship and junta. And look where they are now.
Yeah. They're doing great in Argentina.
Bending back towards the military dictatorship. But what are we talking about today, Matt?
Today, we're going to be talking about, finally, there's some good news. I want to talk today about the Irish.
Oh.
I want to talk about how in this time, as everyone who listens to this podcast knows, right now there is a trial over at the International Court of Justice in which South Africa has taken Israel to court to say, hey, that looks like genocide. And Israel is like, nah, actually you, or whatever. They basically are just trying to, I'm rubber, you are glue. And obviously, big shout out to South Africa. A lot of, I think people are waking up to the idea that, all of these countries that we don't even consider in the West, we don't look at them as anything other than like, the news looking at them as threats, like framing them as like an economic threat, like China or whatever, like any of the BRIC countries. And seeing that and going like, oh, finally, like a country that's run by like adults who are not going to lie to us, at least about this issue.
Yeah.
And so I've been feeling a lot of love for our South African comrades, but I also have to point out the Irish. I take back everything I ever said about your people, your land, your love of alcohol.
You mean your
potatoes, people? And yes, and my people as well. I've always been a self-hating part Irishman.
There you go.
And listen. Yeah, American Irish and regular Irish are different, and I think
that's how I feel about Italians, but they're both bad in different ways.
Right. Oh, how so? Tell me. Explain your anti-Italian racism.
That's for another podcast. Yeah. That's a spicy take.
That's a spicy take. But yeah, no, like I first of all, I love the Irish. Irish are great. And I make fun of the Irish all the time. I love their accents. I think they sound silly, and they are a fun country with great people. And I've always respected them, but man, I've never grown to respect them more so than in the past 3 months, because it's the one thing people forget about, Europeans, is that there's this giant block of Europeans that are all, like we consider them all to be the West, and they're all kind of like in lockstep behind Israel in one fashion or another. Sure, there are like pockets of people, but the EU in general, I feel like, has been supportive more so than, like anywhere else other than the United States. And people forget that the Irish, although they are a part of the EU, they don't fucks with no occupation. They don't fucks with any fucking British
They're the
colonial
global south
state.
of the global north.
That's right. They are. And so I've been just looking at some great Irish content in the last few weeks. But what I wanted to say to get into our first one was Irish Americans very much enjoy claiming Irish status. You know what I mean? Like they're, hey, I'm fucking Irish. It's like, why are you doing an Italian accent? Or like, the Pack the Car and Harvard Yard guys. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like they love it.
The ethnic whites.
And that includes up into the president. Biden very much talks about his Irish American heritage. And recently, at the European Parliament, a member of the European Parliament, a woman by the name of Claire Daly, who is an independent and a socialist, had this to say about what's going on currently in Israel and in Gaza and in the United States. And I want to play a little bit for
catastrophic death toll it has inflicted. Israel is losing on the ground and in the court of public opinion. There's no way that this ends that doesn't leave Israel a pariah state with occupation and apartheid on borrowed time, and they know it. So they're doing everything they can. Desperate acts of aggression to provoke a wider conflict with Lebanon, with Iran, with anybody, to draw in the US, to save them from the consequences of their own actions. And as Yemen shows, Butcher Biden is reporting for duty. With Europe's proud genocide by his side, they are the ones who have enabled the continuation
Did she
of
just say
Israeli
Frau
terror.
genocide? Wait, pause it.
Consequences of
She said, Frau genocide, reporting, let's see, with Europeans, Frau genocide by his side.
With Europe's Frau genocide by his side, they are the ones who have enabled the continuation of Israeli terror. Without them, it would already be over. So take note, Butcher Biden. The ancestors of the Ireland that you claim to be from disown you. Keep our country out of your mouth. And as for von der Leyen and genocidal Germany, with your words and deeds supporting Israel in the ICJ, not in our name. The people of Europe stand with Palestine and with South Africa.
Oh, damn.
Keep our fucking name out your fucking mouth.
Keep her country's name
Keep
out
your
your mouth.
fucking name.
She just Will Smith him.
I know.
Just fucking
On
slapped
the
his
floor
ass.
of the European Parliament.
So mad she couldn't even stick the land. She just left. She just was so
Yeah.
disgusted.
Oh my God. And also, I appreciate the genocide Joe, but Butcher Biden
is
it works.
kind of works even
it
better.
works better. Listen, this is a country of poets. I'm telling you, the
That's
Irish.
exactly right.
They're a country of poets. They come from a long line. It's Samuel Beckett, I think.
But I think it's really important to have, because we've only been hearing from Germany, the UK, that have all supported, supported Israel and then supported now the bombing of the Houthis in Yemen.
That's right.
But then you see, I guess France is negotiating some kind of humanitarian aid,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But like,
France is squishy, and I find that even more detestable, because they're well, we're a little bit more hardline, a little bit more mad about it, but it's you're still you're still squishy about it. Don't
Yeah.
like it.
Squishy.
You know
like
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah. The wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Squishy is better.
Squishy-squashy.
Squishy-squashy. No, but the fact that like to actually represent, Europeans who are
Mm-hmm.
against what is going on, I think is incredibly important. And
Yeah.
even saying Europe stands with South Africa and
Beautiful. and just like, and then saying that we disown you, that is, I
the
love
Irish
that.
people, we don't claim you.
You hear me, Butcher Biden? It's fucking over. You can no longer talk about how you're part of us. Jesus wouldn't like it. You got to fight your daw. That's what they say.
No, that's right. He's like, I don't want you. I'm about to sound
do it. That's
Jamaican.
great.
I don't want. No, it's more like. Yeah. I can't do Irish without going to Jamaican, but I was thinking like, and on St. Patty's Day,
you are a bumbleclad batty boy.
I don't want to see you wearing green.
That's Scottish.
All right. I can't do it.
It's all right. It's fine. The point is
How do you say green in Irish?
Oh, yeah. So to do the accent, you got to start up here.
I don't want to see you wearing green. It's not the r.
No,
it's like
that's
green.
Scottish is the r.
Okay. I don't want to see you wearing
Green.
I don't want to see you wearing
I don't want to see you wearing green.
an apron that says "Kiss me, I'm Irish."
Yeah, you're not allowed to wear the apron anymore. You can't wear the apron.
I don't want to see you wearing a mug, carrying a mug.
Yeah, you can't go around wearing green on St. Paddy's Day and trying to not get pinched. You're going to get fucking pinched either way. Now when you get drunk, it's because you're a drunk, not because you're an Irishman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it is. Look, I think we need more people like this speaking out, especially, for all the ways that South Africa is held up as this incredible example of resistance and liberation, and wow, Nelson Mandela emerges from prison and becomes president in this newfound democracy, and all the fucking lip service at the end of the day, this is a racist world that looks, and the United States looks on South Africa and is like, meh.
Yeah, no,
That's okay.
exactly.
South Africa put Biden, quote, on notice.
Yeah.
I'm putting you on notice that we are going to be prosecuting you in international court for your complicity in genocide. So it's just like, it's so beautiful. And yet again, all the fucking lip service to Black freedom is just that, and when Black freedom wants to be more than just Black freedom.
Right. When it wants to be leadership, global leadership, you immediately see all of a sudden all these fucking liberals.
Yeah.
All the liberals who, they talk about how much they love Nelson Mandela. What'd you just break?
Completely broke this thing. Okay.
You broke your headphone.
I broke the headphone. All right, everything's fine.
But yeah, they talk about this stuff, and they always pay lip service to causes that have already been, after the fact. Like, I forget who said it, but someone said a liberal is someone who supports, who detests every war and every atrocity except for the one that's currently going on.
Exactly.
And so, like, you see now this like complete switch where all of the sudden, like liberals are being like, yeah, South Africa's talking about it. Like, why don't you ask a white farmer how they're doing? If you want to talk genocide, let's talk about white genocide. And it's like, this is, I swear to God, like liberals, I've always heard, scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds or whatever, but I've never really fully subscribe to that notion. I kind of just see it as like part of, for some people, at least me personally, it was part of a progression. But honestly, some liberals straight up, I've not seen a fucking issue radicalize people so fast or have them so like easily and willingly throw out any ideals that they previously held because it just doesn't fit in with this narrative that they need to support their president no matter what. And it's like, you're fucking caping for this old senile man. Like, at least just if you want to cape for him, just say he's old, he doesn't know what he's saying, his brain is broken, do that. I would accept that. But the fact is people are just they're They're just like, no, I think I'm going to go after South Africa.
Well, and the other thing is that liberalism is always about playing it safe.
Yeah.
It is always about not sticking your neck out.
Yes.
It is always about remaining comfortable. It is always about being for something until it means you might have something on the line to lose.
Yes.
Or it might impact your life.
Yeah.
And that is the sort of the yard signification of the BLM movement. You know, it is, I will virtue signal, for lack of a better term. I will post about it, but I won't necessarily, well, not even post about it. In this case, posting about it might actually cost you a job, a friend, a relative, or whatnot. And so it is a perfect issue to, and I would say, as you've seen and as we've seen, liberals truly cower in absolute cower in cowardice.
Yeah.
I've also seen young people, I think, become radicalized by this moment.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of moments, I will say, let this moment radicalize you. It is okay to be radicalized by this moment. And it is happening to so many folks as they see that structurally, when something so heinous happens on our dime, no, we will still not be moved to stop it. I mean, just this week, right? Bernie Sanders, of all people, because my God, he's been such an absent leader in this moment, finally, put up this resolution in the Senate to investigate, to just, hey, check into Israel's actions. This is a week after South Africa lays out this beautifully succinct case in 5 ways that Israel is not only doing genocide but has genocidal intent, stating even in their their case, like, nobody sets out to do genocide, so we understand that. No one who's in the middle of a genocide says, I hereby declare genocide.
We are doing one genocide.
Yeah, I have a
please.
genocide. Exactly. So in this moment, it's like you see South Africa step up. You see them, bring fucking receipts. And then you see the United States is like, hey, maybe we could keep receipts. We don't have to do anything with them.
Right,
Let's
right.
just keep them.
Right, yeah.
And let's
let's bookmark them.
Let's
Can
bookmark.
we just
and he didn't
on
even say-
Twitter, just create a folder.
Exactly. There's no genocide mentioned. It is just human rights violations.
Yeah.
And they could not pass that at all.
Was it 72 to 10?
11.
72 to 11 that it got struck down in the Senate. And you just you look at that and it's so disheartening. And it also, it feels like such a total moral failure on the part of not just the people who voted against it, but the people who brought it forth, like Bernie Sanders bringing it forth now. And I think part of me, of my resentment is that, while I'm glad he did something eventually, a big part of the resentment I have against a lot of people for the last 3 months has been, we said this is what is going to happen. This is from the beginning. It was we know what is going to happen based on Israel's history with Gaza especially, but just, the Palestinians in general. If you kill one Israeli citizen, they will kill 20 Palestinians.
Exactly.
They'll kill 30 Palestinians. As soon as I saw the numbers of the dead in the October 7th attack, I was like, oh, this is going to be a pretext for another Nakba. Absolutely. And anyone who knew anything about this said, we need to make sure that doesn't happen. We need to make sure, just as people who, you and I at least, who lived through 9/11, we said, we know how much a terrorist attack brings out the patriot in people. And we know that patriot is a genocidal freak. So as someone who's experienced this, Americans, I think we can all agree we should probably say, hey, Israel, we know, don't do it. Don't do it. It will not work out well for anybody.
And yet, I think that obviously we can't say anything, but the United States could have. It was
Yes, of
incumbent
course.
upon the United States. It was incumbent upon President Biden to say exactly that.
To show some leadership.
And not just leadership, but as we're seeing the State Department, and all of the dissent cables and all of the people who've resigned, either, actually only two at this point, but just internally, we know the Biden administration is not on board. And again, this is just like this is statecraft Middle East policy 101. Israel will have an outsized reaction to the population of Gaza that they control, in fact, and they are desperate and have taken measures over the last, 30 years to try and pull the United States into a hot war with Iran specifically. They and Saudi Arabia have it in their interest to sever any diplomatic ties between Iran. Like it's just like on and on and on. It's not even about like Palestinians. Let's put them here for half a second. It's about sheer self-interest.
Yes.
Like preservation of literally American interests around the world and preventing like a World War III.
Right.
And any State Department intro fucking intern could say the same shit that if you and I say online, suddenly we're anti-Semitic goons.
Yeah.
And I think you're right.
Well,
and
I'm
I think,
self-hating, you're anti-Semitic.
right. And the reaction that a lot of us had, I think, after October 7th, beyond obviously shock and like,
Horror and disgust and all that
disgust
shit.
and like
Depression.
was that I think the reason you saw so many people immediately talk about the occupation, immediately talk about contextualizing these heinous acts is because we all knew we were on the precipice of a genocide.
Absolutely.
That we all knew that unless we remind the world that
100%.
Gazans are prisoners
100%.
and that Palestinians are prisoners, then suddenly it will look like they're all animals and it will be okay to kill as many as they want.
100%.
So that's why you saw this immediate solidarity. It's because it was a warning. It wasn't a I stand with Hamas or I agree with that.
Yeah, no, it was
please don't do this.
Yes, it was in no way, and they still to this day call it for these protests like pro-Hamas protests, which is so fucking disgusting because it's just so, it just is a way of making anyone who has a conscience or knows anything about what's going on, it puts it in the category of, oh, these are the people it's okay to murder.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like, I agree with you 100%. The idea of giving context, the idea of reminding the world of being like, in case you don't know, it doesn't justify the reasons for Hamas doing the attack. It doesn't justify the violence. It doesn't justify any of that. But what it does do is stops you from going like, oh man, I guess there are just some people out there who are born bad.
Right.
They're born bad. They're born to kill. It's in their DNA. It's in their society. It's in their blood. We need to wipe them off the face of the earth. That is genocidal language. And I knew that this was going to be that pretext.
Yeah.
And it was why, I think anyone who spoke out was immediately chastised by, people that they knew, people that they didn't know, or, were punished by their workplace or all this because of the fact that it is seen as, it is in this country seen as politically incorrect to talk about the context of Israel and the context of Zionism and Israeli society. There is an active effort by Zionist bullies to stop people from saying out loud these things, and instead, which is worse for anti-Semitism, by the way. And it's one of the big reasons I like to talk about it, is because what I see is people becoming, I swear to God, it's like there is anti-Semitism that is happening on the internet and in real life. I've never disputed that. But one thing I am seeing is people living in these bubbles where their only news sources or the mainstream news sources are not being honest with them. And so they become conspiratorial. They become, and I'm not saying that, like, if you're anti-Semitic now, you probably had a little, anti-Semitism brewing in the back of your mind. Sure, that might be the case. But I also think that we like allowing Israel to control the narrative, the narrative of the Jews and the Jewish people is incredibly dangerous, incredibly anti-Semitic. Like,
do you want some of my not Stanley Cup water?
Yes, it's not a Stanley Cup, but it's good. Anywho,
We got to pick up the baby in a little bit.
Yeah, I know. We got to pick up the baby soon. We're going to move on to some more Irish. Once again, big shout out to the Irish. We had this wonderful IJC lawyer. Her name is Blini Nagaralaga.
I could not with this name.
Blimey.
I think it's
Ni Garalaga.
Gralai. I think it's Gralai.
Because it's like it's
Gralai.
Gaelic, so it's probably like Briny Gragan.
Oh God.
It's not. It's
Between this and the South African names, they were throwing me for one, man.
Yeah, they're really-
Blinny Gragan.
Briny Graga.
Gragai.
Oh, she's Briny
Brandy Graga,
Graga.
yeah.
All right, so Mrs. Briny Gragan said this over at the ICJ.
She was for
The world
South Africa.
should be absolutely
Yes.
horrified. The world should be absolutely outraged. There is no safe space in Gaza, and the world should be ashamed.
I love her. Now we're not going to
Madam
watch.
President,
We're not going to watch
members
the
of
whole
court,
thing.
In conclusion, I share
watch
with
a
you
little
two
more.
photographs.
No, this is the best part.
The first is of a whiteboard at a hospital in northern Gaza, one of the many Palestinian hospitals targeted, besieged and bombed by Israel over the course of the past 3 brutal months. The whiteboard is wiped clean of no longer possible surgical cases, leaving only a handwritten message by a Médecins Sans Frontières doctor, which reads,
This is so fucking.
"We did what we could. Remember us." The second photograph is of the same whiteboard after an Israeli strike on the hospital on the 21st of November that killed the author of the message, Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nujayla, along with 2 of his colleagues. Just over a month later, in a powerful sermon delivered from a church in Bethlehem on Christmas Day, the same day Israel had killed 250 Palestinians, including at least 86 people, many from the same family, massacred in a single strike on Magazi refugee camp. Palestinian pastor Mundhir Ishaq addressed his congregation and the world, and he said, and I quote, "Gaza as we know it no longer exists. This is an annihilation. This is a genocide. We will rise. We will stand up again from the midst of destruction, as we have always done as Palestinians, though this is by far maybe the biggest blow we have received." But he said, "No apologies will be accepted after the genocide. What has been done has been done. I want you to look in the mirror and ask, where was I when Gaza was going through a genocide?"
I hate that the answer to that question for me is making a podcast, but I also at the same time am like, well, I don't know what else to do.
Well, yeah, I really love, she continues on just briefly and she said, South Africa is here doing what we can. And
Yeah.
it was just so moving because it was like, where were you? And she's like, we're here. Like we are trying to do, whatever is within our power to do. We are exercising this, court that like lives in some sort of matrix-esque womb that they get like crawl out of when they're like, did someone say genocide? And they're like, blah, blah, blah. Like who knows where they come from. They're from all over the world actually.
Yeah.
And they serve, I think it's 7 to 9 years, something like that. Pretty cush job. And
Nice.
so they end, and she's like, we're doing what we can. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And I felt like with South Africa is doing, I think, on an international level, what I think a lot of us feel like we've been doing in our personal and private and professional lives. And
Right.
what we have
Fighting
no choice,
against the fucking current.
which is fighting against the current and saying the unpopular thing, even though it's going to incur a lot of hate and a
Yeah.
lot of and backlash, and in the hopes that history will show that we were right,
Yeah.
and that not just to be right.
Yeah, not
but
for the
not
sake
for this, not
of
for
being
bragging
right.
rights,
That's
but to
only
say
5%
we can
of it.
move to, but to be to turn the page on this kind of like death and destruction. That's the whole framework for international law, is to say, hey, we've done a lot of these. They're bad.
Yeah,
Holocaust, real bad.
Yeah, genocide's bad.
Let's create some laws and move as one global community to a world where we don't do this to one another. How about it, guys?
Right.
And that's sort of what South Africa is banking on and betting on. And I will say, back to your BRICS comment, the thing that I said to you when this first happened was, I believe that Israel showed up because they don't always show up to these things. I believe they showed up because they're scared as shit. And they're scared of South Africa because South Africa is not... It's not a random country. It's actually an economic powerhouse, right? It does have money. It does have trade. They don't want to be embargoed. They don't want to lose trading opportunities. And they sure as shit don't want. And Brazil's made a lot of noise. Russia's made a lot of noise. Russia's demand has trying to put forward ceasefire resolutions through the UN. I know we're used to fucking hating Russia, but no one's given Russia just a little bit of credit, despite their own atrocities in Ukraine, for trying to stop this thing. So there's one good thing that they're doing, even though it's massively hypocritical. But so it's like, Russia, India, India couldn't give a shit, couldn't care less. Like Hindu nationalists, not really gonna. Obviously the Indian leadership, but like South Africa is part of this bloc that Israel is like, shit, dude, these are kind of our trading partners, and if we're totally screwed with them, that might not be a good look economically moving forward, which is just so crass to think about Israel's economy. I turned on NPR the other day, and it's like, the war on Gaza has continued for 100 days now, and how is the Israeli economy doing? Israelis are concerned that because of so many conscripted soldiers, there's no one left to run their shops. Let's check in with and you're just like, I can't believe this is a conversation right now.
Straight up, there was an interview with some people who have like a winery in Haifa. And they're
Christ.
like, all of our, employees are not coming, back because Israel's decided to have a war with Lebanon right now. Literally, that is Israel's decision. This is not. I swear, Nasrallah came out of like hiding and was just like, "Hey, we got your back, Gaza, but like we're, we'll do our best, whatever." And Israel said, no, sir, you will be fighting with us. We will be fighting Hezbollah. And so to interview the fucking the whiners, I'm just like, it's just so disconnected from reality. It's so disconnected from like the tragedy. It's so dehumanizing to the people. Yeah. And seeing like global leadership is just something that, nothing makes you, I think, more ashamed to be an American and proud to be a human than when you see that kind of stuff where you're just like, listen, fuck borders, fuck nationalities, fuck our, geopolitical allies and all this fucking bullshit. Like looking at South Africa taking the reins and taking moral leadership of this. I think you're right. Israel saw this and said, oh, fuck. We have to defend ourselves.
Yeah, we have to pretend like we
go
care,
up there and
even
lie.
though they know they don't.
They don't, because at the end of the day, they know with the backing of America, they can do whatever the fuck they want. International law is a ruse. It's a lie. It's just it's so many fancy buildings. It's a pig with lipstick on. It's just not fucking. It is not something that has any sort of enforcement arm outside of whatever the fucking hegemon is willing to give it. And the hegemon is fucking United States. They're saying, nah, fuck that. You guys can be mad. But
I do feel like South Africa gave us a glimpse of what this world could look like. If there was accountability, if nations led, if they led, because South Africa could have easily not been a leader. The leader is the one with the biggest weapons and the biggest military, the most guns, and that's the United States. You just follow the fucking leader. Yeah. You cower, you stay in line, you don't stick your neck out. Yeah. And South Africa said, no, we're not going to do that. And it's just like the beauty of what if used correctly, what international law could potentially mean, which is us having solidarity with one another and sticking up for one another. I remember when we were in the AJ Plus studio offices one day, and we hosted for just a moment. I think they stopped by. Like there was like a UN special rapporteur on human rights in the United States.
Yeah.
And they weren't checking in on like whether we were being treated okay as Al Jazeera
They wanted to
reporters.
check in. They wanted to check in on the Jewish guy.
They want to make, yeah, are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. I love my work.
I don't know, but they were.
My boss is not me tooing me. I am not having a relationship with my boss.
That's the first thing Matt told them. No, but they were doing this study of the United States, our poverty levels, our lack of health care, our housing conditions. And I was like, oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Hey, good for you because we could use some help.
Yeah, totally.
I'd love to have a UN monitor on this fucking nation of ours that pretends to be both a democracy and a first world country.
Airdrop me a car, please.
Yeah.
My Civic is broken.
No, it was really, we again, this little glimpse, this taste of like, oh, there is an international community out there, and it is not just, again, bending to the United States' will.
Right. But, at the same time, you just see like when it comes to enforcement, there's like, this is going to be, I think, for, the world or whatever. This is going to be an interesting test to see how legitimate the UN and how much the United States backs the UN is going to be put to the test. Because, for the most part, we use the UN as kind of like this, we refer to it when it's on our side. And, for the most part, it is. And you see how when it comes to Israel, the UN is honest, and they vote and they try their best to be like.
But the U.S. doesn't have a veto here in the International Court of Justice.
No, they don't.
I mean,
they
it's
don't.
a little bit different.
No,
I think the real thing is like we know the decision might not come down for months, which is sort of ironic because they sped through the trial, which is great because they're trying to stop genocide now.
Right.
But it's not clear they'll have a verdict anytime soon. But who knows? They might return a verdict really soon. The real thing is like if there is no accountability, how can, and it might not come from the U.S. We have to do our part here.
Right.
But those other nations, what can they do to try and enact some real economic consequences for Israel for this action going forward? Again, not to disrespect the fact that this is not it's not done. Like, meaning, which is so sick because we don't even know what the fucking end game is here. Really, do you truly believe they're going to move to more targeted strikes, a more narrow war?
A more humane apartheid. That's like the best case scenario you get here is just more of the same, more apartheid. It continues.
No, but I mean in Gaza, like what?
That's what I'm saying.
Like what? But
that's the best case scenario, and I don't believe that best case scenario. I have no faith in the idea that, because like if there's one thing that has been shown to be true, it's that Israel can do whatever it wants without consequences. So if you're not giving them consequences, then they can do their ultimate dream of the complete ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. They can finish that. And I don't see a way in which this war ends with Israel on top and them not doing that. Because of the fact that like they are being told essentially that they can. I mean, currently, there's this genocide trial that is happening, and there has been no, okay, let's cool it on the genocide for a little bit. It is just continued.
They're besieging the last hospital in Gaza as we speak.
And so, like I look at this and I go, in terms of end goal here, the end goal I think they've made clear multiple times, which is that of the complete transfer of the majority of the population of Gaza, and the physical occupation, of Gaza. Now, I could be wrong, and international pressure and United States pressure may pressure them to just uphold the status quo, in which they'll just have Gaza there again under siege and locked up. It'll just be an open air prison again. And that's just
It's absolutely uninhabitable. I mean, one of the things that I think South Africa also showed was, and I hadn't seen footage like this, but the complete detonation of whole neighborhoods. This is after neighborhoods were bombed.
Yes.
This is after, you can imagine, the majority, if not all, people were either killed, injured, or displaced, or all three. And they are leveling neighborhoods. I mean, the number of houses, it's something like 3,000 houses a day or something insane.
Right.
And you're like, no, they are clearing the ground to rebuild, to reoccupy, to put their own settlements on.
Yes.
It is happening under the United States' very fucking watch.
Yes.
I mean, the like, coming out of this, it is so laughable that the U.S. would imagine themselves to be any kind of arbiter for any kind of peace process going forward.
Yeah.
That is done.
Yeah.
That is completely dead and done.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just the fact that you see today France being the one to negotiate humanitarian aid trucks reaching Gaza in exchange for medicine for hostages shows you that the United States is a zero on this.
Completely.
And
yes.
everyone in the international community has given up on it. And it doesn't mean we don't have a role to play as Americans.
No, it means.
But in the world's eyes, they have lost all credibility to be actual arbiters, if they ever had any. And mind you, they were hanging on by a thread.
Right, of course. But it's if you ever had any illusions that somehow the United States was this like moral beacon, showed moral leadership, and would be the people to stop bad things, which people may have like thought, with their support of Ukraine or whatnot, and been like, oh yeah, they're not warmongers. What they are is people who have the moral certitude. They are right. They are the moral leaders. And then you see what happens in Gaza, and you go like, none of this is about morality. None of this is. America has no foot to stand on.
Yeah.
And you see that, and I think it is.
I mean, the other thing about
clear.
Russia, we just said about Russia, it's just like, like, fuck Russia. But wouldn't it have been an interesting moment for the United States to not veto a ceasefire resolution,
right?
To work with Russia in an international community space to say, let's rein in this genocide that's happening,
yes,
as a diplomatic measure to softening a little bit of the relations,
right?
And potentially
not even for moral reasons, for like completely just again, American interest, diplomatic reasons.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I would not see that move as throwing Ukrainians under the bus. I would not see that move as capitulating or giving up on Ukrainian, sovereignty. I would see that as experts have said for a long time now, as the beginnings of some way to fucking use diplomacy to get out of what is also another incredibly costly, awful war, although not rising to the level of genocide, but in Ukraine.
Yeah.
But no, we have to pass up, or at least the Biden administration has to pass up every fucking opportunity to de-escalate this goddamn situation.
They're dug in, and they're dug in a way that is like baffling to most people, and is completely counter to to anyone who ever had any thoughts that the United States was like a country that at the very least would act, with strategy or sort of a clear geopolitical narrative that you understand. Like the only narrative here is just like Israel is our 51st state. Yeah. That's the only narrative that makes any sense. And
we have a Zionist president.
Yes, we have a Zionist president. Israel's our 51st state. We are protecting them as if they are just the United States.
It's funny because I truly didn't see this. Like, I don't think I knew enough about Biden's Palestine stance to think that he could be just as bad as Donald Trump. I'm not going to say worse.
Oh, he's just as
But
bad.
just
I
as
think
bad.
I think Donald Trump would have done the same thing. Some people are like, "Oh, if Donald Trump had been in office, it would have been worse." And I was like, I don't know how it could be worse.
I don't see how it
Biden
could
has
have been
literally done nothing but support this.
I mean, the only way it could
Trump
have been
would have supported it as well.
Trump might have gone and, like Mike Pence, signed a missile,
Yeah, right.
signed a bomb.
Yes, Trump would have made this about himself in some way, whereas Biden is doing his best to at least look sad when he says, "But we got to keep killing the kids."
Yeah.
Which means less than nothing to me. So but it's like he's as bad as Trump on this current conflict, or as Trump would have been. And like I saw someone say, is like, well, people understand that like Trump would be like, torturing more Palestinians, and I'm just like, I don't know how he could. Like Israel is literally just doing exactly what it wants when it wants.
Yeah. How could you be more permissive?
You can't be more permissive than do whatever you want. There is not, there's not something more than that. They don't have restraint. So why would saying show no restraint mean anything to them? So anyways, one of the other things I want to point out is if to get back to the Irish, because this is our
Okay.
Irish theme episode for no reason.
Bleen.
This is another wonderful, wonderful Irishman by the name of Tadgh Hickey, the Tadgh, which I assume is pronounced Tadgh Hickey. And he explains, if you're ever wondering why are the Irish so dope? Why are they just the greatest land in Europe? Here it is.
Understand the Palestinian anti-colonial struggle in a way that the so-called great European nations, France, Germany, Britain, can never understand. These countries have traditionally been the oppressor and not the oppressed. Ireland, like Palestine, knows what it's like to be brutalized and to have her land confiscated and gifted to settlers who deem themselves to be ethnically superior to us. During Oliver Cromwell's genocidal campaign in Ireland, his slogan for the native Catholic population was that they could go to hell or to Connacht, i.e. to poor land in the west of the country, a likely early prototype for Native American reservations. Like Palestine, we never stopped resisting our oppression, which led us to being labelled terrorists by the oppressor. A Palestinian friend recently told me that when Palestinians refuse food in Israeli jails and accept only water and salt, they call it going on an Irish hunger strike. The recent racist and Orientalist cartoon in the Washington Post depicting Palestinians as base and amoral called to mind the similarly dehumanizing British Punch magazine depictions of Irish as simian and lawless. During Ireland's War of Independence, which led to the partial liberation of the country from the British Empire, the IRA fought a particularly reviled class of British soldier known as the Black and Tans, who were infamous for their brutality against the civilian population. Well, after the war, some of these fine gentlemen were exported to Palestine. In fact, Britain's partition of Ireland and the creation of the British Unionist supremacist statelet of Northern Ireland became a kind of prototype for the Zionist project, with Britain declaring its intentions to create a little loyal Jewish Ulster in a sea of potentially hostile Arabism. In more recent times,
Ulster.
my friends in the north of Ireland
one of them
have
words.
experienced something at the hands of the colonial oppressor that Palestinians know only too well. That is the denial of justice. Britain's recent shameful legacy bill effectively grants amnesty to British soldiers who carried out war crimes during the Troubles. These are some of the reasons why many of us have your back. Oh, and because it's the right thing to do, there's nothing complicated about genocide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tadgh.
Because honestly, like, I've always known that, like, in Ireland there are, when you sort of get involved in Palestinian, like, solidarity movements, you'll always see, like, Ireland has like Palestinian flags.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. You'll
up,
see
and,
this like
in
Irish
their football
representation.
clubs. There's
Yeah.
like tons of Palestine
Yeah,
chants,
yeah.
and you sort of get it, but like,
You're like,
that
yeah,
was
they have green in their flag. There's green in their
right,
flag.
right. But then there's just
But it's
like
more than just the green in the flag.
But this is what, and I think it's really important for people outside of the United States to understand and remember, is that Palestine is an international symbol of anti-colonial resistance.
That's right.
It always has. It always has been this.
Yeah.
And
Just by the mere fact of it being created at a time of peak anti-colonialism, while
Precisely.
decolonization was going on, it was created, and that became this international symbol of like, that looks like colonization.
And it wasn't
And we have just
everyone
decided
is
we are against
anti-Semitic
that.
because
No.
guess what? The fucking people who are in the most solidarity with Palestine were not the perpetrators of the fucking Holocaust and all of the complicity that
Right.
went along with it
And the
against
people-
the Jews.
and-
These are
Yes.
fucking Latin American countries and African countries and Asian countries.
Yes.
These are not countries
And-
that were. I mean, okay,
And-
I know there was some like Nazi, fucking. Perón was not so great when it comes to
No, of course there's, but also more importantly, the people who were, enabling Zionism and are to this day still continuing to support Zionism are Europeans who fucking hate Jews. And I'm sorry, but like at that time, you're telling me a European in the 40s didn't hate Jews? They did. That was the whole thing. That was like the fucking whole Holocaust thing. So, just this idea that like,
there's nothing that would make me more mad, and I'm not Jewish, but than a right winger using my identity
I'm telling you, this
as
is
a
my
fucking
shit.
reason to like support
Yes.
a genocidal foreign country that I
Yes.
don't really care about and I've never been to and whatever. But like, I mean, Donald Trump has said this to American Jews like
Yes.
many times.
So that, yes,
you
straight
should
up.
love me more
Because I love Israel.
I love Israel.
Yes.
And it's just like, well, now we have Biden.
Right,
So
right,
we've
exactly.
got our Israel lover. But that would make my skin crawl. And that's why I don't understand liberal Zionists, because I'm like, don't you see that your religion, your ethnicity is being weaponized by the right to basically control you and
Yes.
control you and to the worst and most disgusting ends possible.
Yeah.
In
That's
either in there y'all should just move out of this country
Mm-hmm.
and or the end times will be prompted by you going to Israel.
Right.
Which however way you slice it, it is so bad faith and offensive
and straight up anti-Semitic.
and anti-Semitic
It is.
that you're just like, how are we not all seeing this? Are we not all seeing?
I'm telling you. I
These-
mean, listen, a lot of us do see this, and a lot of us talk about it, and then a lot of people,
Want to have it both ways.
want to have it both ways. That's the thing about liberal Zionism. It is just wanting to have it both ways. It's like, how do I create a narrative in which I am still the main character, good guy of my life, and at the same time, I have my fucking, ethno-state Club Med that I can go to eventually, that I will let both Palestinians and Israelis bleed for. I'll let them die.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That and a continuous cycle of violence, because one day I might need it. Just like a total fucking disgusting worldview that is pounded into you because you're told that's what it's for. So you're like, oh, I guess that's normal. And then once you like step back and go like, wait a second, this is a contingency plan that is based on me like being kicked out by right wingers.
Yeah.
And so in order to be safe, I need to support right-wing genociders. Like, I'm being kicked out by genociders. In order to stop that from happening, I need to support these genociders. Like, you have to have cognitive dissonance in order to fully believe that. And
Yeah.
I think that's what they kind of count on. Before we go, because we have to pick up our baby.
I feel bad that we've rushed through this episode, and I feel like you had so many more clips. I feel like there was more Irishmen to be had.
No, those were all the Irish. I think we've had enough of the fucking Irish. We're fucking done. I'm sorry. If I have any Irish listeners, I love
No, but
you.
it is so important to remember the fucks that got us into this, the
Yes.
fucks who have colonized the world,
Yes.
and that
Yeah, and
They
remembering
do not speak for all of Europe and all of Europeans, and the Irish have, again, long been, and that's why I have some hope for this country a little bit, because I do think, other than Biden, you know, between American Jews and then, you know, I don't know, the American Irish. I don't know, Matt. I'm trying to figure out a way to say, like,
here's how you have hope.
I have hope for this nation.
I think that this country, as it becomes less and less, let's be honest, white, as it becomes,
no, it's becoming more and more white.
well, okay, but that the tent of whiteness, of course, will expand. But what I'm saying is that as this country becomes less and less
More diluted.
ethnically, less and less ethnically white, where there's just you know, I think we're going to, you know, see more and more people kind of stop looking at this as like, you know, oh well, the Israelis are this, like, you know, they'll stop looking at it as Israel as being the fucking outpost of the West, and they'll start questioning the idea of, like, why we need an outpost of the West, you know? And I don't know, I because I see more people of color supporting Palestinians every time, you know, one of these mowing the lawns happens.
Yeah.
And so it makes me feel like there is hope, because the one thing, you know, with this country that I think is a thing I like about it is the fact that we are you know, a country that has a lot of people who are not just white people, and more becoming more and more diverse. And that is a very good thing.
And I think the other thing is, like, you know, as much as I can't believe right wingers are jumping on, are such Zionists. Stay Zionist, please. Because as we talked about, as soon as they start to dabble in anti-Zionism is when it really becomes anti-Semitic to be against
when a right winger
Israel's
is anti-Zionist. I'll tell you right now, they are. It's not because they love the Palestinians.
Exactly, 100%. I mean, just this week, you know, Trump started talking about we should have a dome. Why do we give so much money elsewhere? We should have our own dome. And he was referring to the Iron Dome. He didn't say it. He didn't say Israel. He made a hilarious gesture going bing, bing, boom, she. And he was talking about how, like, you know, the missiles don't hit, you know, whatever target, because bing, 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 boom, she. And like, and I'm telling you, Matt, it made me so scared, because I was like, oh my God, if he gets the MAGA base on board with the fact that why do we give so many weapons to Israel, you know, it's like, it makes me so mad at Democrats for completely dropping the anti-war mantle and the fucking ball and letting it just like roll away from us when it was ours, and it is ours to pick up, and it always has been leftists and progressives and some Democrats, you know, formerly Bernie Sanders, who've been sounding this alarm and calling for peace. And, you know, it's like, I have a lot more to say obviously on that, but I'm just like, you know, let us chip away at Zionism until the last people who believe in this project are psycho right-wingers and everyone, and we can speak to everyone else and let them know it's okay. It's okay to let this go.
Speaking of that, I think that there's hope for that too, because the fact that as Israel and their Hasbara campaign has become more and more aware that anyone who's in any way a progressive or a leftist, or even like a lot of liberals, become more and more disgusted with them. They're realizing that it's not having the power that it once had. And so a friend of the show, Babak, who I am probably pronouncing that wrong, Babik, but it's Babak, sent me this wonderful, I think it was an AI generated Israeli Hasbara video. And if you want to know how closely the Israelis like mindset is just like aligned with the right wing id, just watch this wonderful video.
Israel is a young and strong guy. He likes sports, especially soccer. He loves to learn and grow. He even invented inventions that changed the world. Israel is a role model for everyone.
Oh my God.
I love how hot he is.
So look at those veins.
Look at the veins.
Standing next to us like a little boy.
Israel is trying to live normal life without problems.
They have always been trying to live normal life without problems.
Without problems. aiming to continue progressing and developing.
I want to know what
not
this
seeking
AI
to
was
fight
fed.
with anyone.
I think this AI was fed straight cum.
This was, what is it? The
no, it's
sperm
like-
preservation program for the IDF? Yeah.
100%. No, this is as someone who said, Israelis are the 300 guys. And, yeah.
But because Israel is so successful, the neighbors living nearby are jealous of him and trying to harm him.
Yeah, they hate us because they ain't us.
I don't know if this is a fan who jokingly made this, or if they're bringing to your attention something that is real.
This is for sure real.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They have all
I mean, it's AI, but,
the tools to succeed on their own. But what drives them in life is their hatred towards Israel.
fucking.
Just if you're listening,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
brown men, Arabs with turbans
on,
screaming,
mouth open, screaming, kind of, just picture racist screaming Arab
totally
cartoon.
not
Because they
ripped
dedicate
either.
their lives
Not
to harming
more
Israel.
screaming.
Yeah.
Sometimes they succeed in doing so.
Oh, sad
Israel's
hot
in
guy.
the rain.
Israel is stronger than all his neighbors combined. He has proven that more than once. Israel will continue to progress,
They just got like.
This is so gay.
stand on its own feet.
This is really
No one
gay.
trying to bring him down will succeed. Israel is a lion in the neighborhood of sheep.
I'm sorry, but the sheep is the lion. So the lion's a predator.
Yeah, the lion's a predator.
Like, it's just. Anyways, my point being that, hey, Israel.
So Israel is
Your
an
id
incel.
is showing.
I think that's Israel's just an incel.
Yeah, they're an is-cell. Anyways, thank you so much for showing us that. It is just like, it's beautiful when you see someone is just like, the problem with Israel and our propaganda is we don't have enough Chad videos. We need them to be like fucking mega Chads, and we need to make them hot. The problem is people need to see the IDF is hot. And it's like, yeah, that's not the problem. All right. I think that's been a show.
It's been a show.
Francesca Fiorentini, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking
Sure.
to me. Listen to the Bituation Room.
Yeah, follow me on all the things at Franny Fio. You can subscribe to the Bituation Room, youtube.com/Franny Fio.
Yeah.
Or listen as a podcast.
Yeah, check it out. It's very good. It is. You probably already do, but if you don't, please do check it out. It's very, very good, and she talks about other things too, not just Israel like me. Patreon.com/Fraudcast. Email me for your questions, your comments, concerns. badhasbar@gmail.com. All right, everyone. I still don't have an ending sign out, but until next time, from the river to the sea, now no one will hire